Uh, oh man, that's yeah. I think that's a whole story. We could spend an hour talking about you know Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers and how just things look so different for them from last year even, right? And how what Rodgers is like what 38, 39, right? And then Brady is 45 this year. So you have you have two people who last year were I mean Rodgers won MVP last 2 years, right? So you have a quarterback who's won MVP last 2 years at 37 and 38. All of a sudden, he loses some key contributors to his team. Still has running backs and everything, and just his team is just can't hold on to it. And his defense is okay. I mean, it's the same it always is. Like Packers defense, I don't think has been exceptional the last 5 years, but man, he's missing some playmakers and he's feeling it. I think
Yeah.
my here's my hot take is I think both of them are going to retire this next year. I think Rodgers is done. I think Tom with like he was so close to going to the Super Bowl last year. He was like, okay, I'm going to run it back one more year. Screw Giselle. Actually, not screw Giselle because we're gonna like get divorced. So like I'm gonna like exit the marriage and like I'm gonna like we're so close. Like I can almost taste going back to the Super Bowl. But then he things are not going this year. I think it's gonna take all the wind out of his sails. So I think my hot take is they're both gonna retire this year.
Yeah.
Or after the end of this year. I mean, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
so I
yeah.
yeah,
That's fair.
I actually lean more toward that. I don't know why it's something about ending the legacy. I don't Tom Brady I think is going to struggle ending it.
Yeah,
Even though he should just be done after this year and recognize what's going on. I don't think he's going to. I think he's going to come back again, and it's going to be horrible.
yeah. Might be
He's
right.
going to go out even sadder than he's going to this year.
Hmm. Yeah. So it was
Yeah,
what the I think the first time it was the 2015 season, right? Because that wasn't that the hold on. There was 2015. They were talking about it. They really talked about it in 2017 or 18, the year when they played the Chiefs the first game with Kareem Hunt, right? And he just ran all over him, and they lost like 35-10 or something, right? And everyone was like,
yeah,
Patriots are done. They're washed. They're crap. All this stuff. And here we are 4 years later, and he's won 2 rings in that time, right? So it's tough to know Tom. He's the goat for a reason, and it's just
right.
hard when you're that good and you can play a position where you're not like LeBron playing power forward in the NBA. You can play a position where you're not taking as much contact as long as you're making the throws.
Yeah,
People are, as long as you're making throws and good decisions, you can be a game manager and not be like Mahomes or Allen where you're putting up 500 yards a game. But
right.
yeah. So, anyways, Jeff, do you want to talk about hot takes from scores this week or just reactions? Okay. So I will start. I'll start. As much as I love to hate the Cowboys, Cowboys look damn good. I'm just saying, like I will say the Lions had the second best offense behind the Chiefs, right, in the NFL, and Cowboys just locked them down. And I've kind of always been on like the hater train with the Cowboys. Always thought like they're overrated and stuff, but like Prescott's still getting back in the rhythm of things, but they look good, and I think they're going to be a tough team to beat in the NFC. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, because I mean, it
Yeah.
was tough because what I think Zeke had 50 something yards, 2 touchdowns, and then Pollard had 11 carries for 63 yards, right? So between the two running, yeah. No, I mean he's better, he's younger, he's not getting paid $18 million a year, right? So in all assets, in all facets of the game, he's more desirable for the team and for everyone else. And I think he's going to sign a contract with somewhere else because Zeke's locked in for another 2 years after this, I think. So I mean, he's Pollard is not going to sit there because Jerry's not going to pay him a $10 million plus contract, which I think he could get at this point. Like he is sitting behind a stud running back and still getting 50, 60, 70 yards a game, 10 to 15 touches. So I think Pollard, maybe he does this one more year, but eventually I don't know what his contract status is, but eventually some team's going to try to pick him up on his initial deal. Yeah. Mm, yeah. Yeah, defense looks good.
Um, you talking about just for Cowboys right now?
No, just any team, any score this week, or just reaction or something.
Um, I'm Seattle keeps blowing my mind. Um, I thought I really I was impressed by them like 3 weeks ago, even,
Yeah.
and even last week, and then again today. It's like I thought this was a rebuild team. I thought this was a sell Wilson. We're going to put in Geno Smith on the cheap, and we're going to start restructuring this and get back to the Legion
Mm,
of Boom.
yep.
And all of a sudden they have a top five offense. Really, that's crazy. I don't know what's going on there, but they're doing something right. They have a lethal offense,
That's
and
a whole topic. That's a whole topic, right? Because so we could break down obviously Broncos related to AFC West and like Broncos country, let's die, right? Versus let's ride. you know, like talk about that. But like it makes you respect Pete Carroll and think like, what has this guy done? Because he has
for
taken
real.
Russ and hid his problems for the last 3 or 4 years so well. Like Russ was good. I would say 5, 6 years ago, prime Russ with Legion of Boom, insane. That team was a terror in the NFC West, right?
Right.
But the last few years, Russ has Seahawks fans have been saying this. Like they've seen this trend of him regressing, and Carroll has hit it really well with game planning, with other pieces that he's brought in, and now with the Broncos, like Russ has to be the main guy, like the star, like the Broncos want him to be the Josh Allen, the Pat Mahomes, the guy who's throwing the ball up and down the field, the missing QB piece, and he's not
Yeah.
that. And it's like, wow, Pete Carroll, you're a stud because you've somehow it's kind of like Tomlin with the Steelers and Antonio Brown, like how he kept that dude under wraps for what 5 years, like before he went off the rails, right? Like insane.
That's a great point. Um, that's a really good point because Russell Wilson is now getting exposed now that he
Yep.
came out from under the umbrella of a really apparently much
Yep.
better coach than we thought.
Yeah.
Now he's getting exposed, and Geno Smith. Geno Smith is not new to the NFL. He's been
No.
around for a long time.
Yep.
In fact, everybody knows what you're going to get with Geno Smith. If
Yeah,
you're
it's true.
starting Geno Smith, you're probably rebuilding your team. That's probably
Mm-hmm.
what's going on. But
Yep.
again, back to Pete Carroll. He's doing something really incredible there. So,
Mm-hmm. yep. Yep. Interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm. Interesting.
Huh.
Huh.
Wow.
That's a good point.
Right.
Hmm. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
for
and,
sure.
and and also too with what. So okay, you look at an older quarterback, right? People are like, well, how could you give him an extension? How could you sign him for this 10-year deal without him setting foot on a football field? But a lot of the times with these quarterbacks, they have to their agents requesting that they sign an extension before they play. So like I know that people are like, oh, like I can't believe that he's so bad. It's like, well, that was determined before he even set on the field. Like the agent was like, hey, we'll join your team, but it's contingent upon us getting a deal restructured for 10 years. And the team's like, sure, we'll do it. But yeah, I mean, right now Seattle's sitting on a top 10 pick from the Broncos, and Broncos lost to the Jets, right? I think it was 17-9 when I checked. Did they lose or no? Okay, okay, so yeah, no, and honestly, it's too like Ripon. I'm butchering the name, but I mean, I watched a little snippet of the game today, and I mean, the throws weren't bad. I don't think the throws were bad. I just think that I mean, also too, you probably seen stats on Jerry Judy and how like his catch percentage when the ball's around him is one of the lowest of all qualifiable receivers in terms of like it there as a receiver, obviously, like you need the ball to be placed, within this area around you, but at the same time, you have to make a play as an athlete on the ball. And out of what 100 and some odd receivers, he was like last or second to last on that percentage stat of catchable balls that he was making a play on. So I don't know. I mean, it's tough when you back up that you're paying 1.2 million dollars a year, and all of a sudden you've got your star quarterbacks out and he looks the same, right? The offense looked about the same as it did the last 3 weeks,
Yeah.
so it's tough. Yeah, 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 yeah. You're right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Right. They're probably just my biggest surprise, and they continue surprise. I keep waiting for that train to end, and it just I don't know.
Yeah,
They just keep looking really good. So I don't know. Yeah. No matter how good your team is, if you lose to Kansas City or the Bills, you know, you just take that loss, learn from it, and grow and move on. I mean those are those are some really good teams. The Chiefs are going to put points on you. The Bills are going to put points on you. Apparently, the Seattle's going to put points on you. So you just kind of when you play those really 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 tough teams, I don't think the 49ers were exposed. Let's put it that way. They're a really good team. They're a solid team.
yeah,
They just played a really good team. So it's very hard to stop Mahomes.
yep, yeah,
And also seems like Kansas City got their run game going quite a bit
yeah,
more, and that's
yeah.
that's big. So for game
Do you,
management,
do you want to pivot real quick to? Sorry, go ahead. I said, do you want to pivot to the KC game and talk about that for a little bit? Yeah. Hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah. It's okay. Pacheco just kind of runs angry all the time. It kind of fires guys around him up a little bit, and um, it almost feels like he's fighting for a role spot. Trying to prove something, and that's let him ride that. That's a good thing to ride. And Ceh, I don't think he's a bad back. He's just different. It's a different. He's a different style back, but I don't think he's as good as he was hyped up to be. But he's definitely dangerous. Can be. So
I think also too with just how the Chiefs offense works, like we sometimes get the lines blur between fantasy and real life football a lot. So from fantasy, yeah, the Chiefs are a disaster, right? Like with the running back position. Like you don't know who to
right,
start. You're not gonna start McKinnon, but then you've got CEH and Pacheco, and I started CEH because I don't have any other options, and he kind of saved me because he still scored 10 points because he scored a touchdown, right? But
right,
yeah, yeah. So, but like Chiefs backfield from a fantasy perspective is a disaster. But when it comes to like real life football, it's so hard to game plan because it's not okay. Hey, here's Najee Harris. Here's this guy who he has a certain runs to, or Derrick Henry, or a Le'Veon Bell,
right,
whatever it is. I know
right.
this guy does these little dump offs, or an Eckler, right, who does the little like 5 to 10 yard dump offs all day down the field from Herbert. And so, in I would say real life situations, the Chiefs have a good thing going. Like you mentioned, I think Pacheco runs really fast. He runs hard. He runs through contact. um, I think he does give a good spark of just running. I mean, he's young, right? Rookie from Rutgers. He's 21. He's got everything to prove, nothing to lose, kind of thing, right? So he just run
Yeah,
hard through stuff. CH is a little more of like, kind of reminds me of like Le'Veon Bell a little bit. Like grabs a little
yeah,
screen, grabs a pass, looking, dodging around people, trying to dive ahead, get an extra few yards. He's not going to sit there and take on a 240-pound linebacker, right? He's going to try to get around him. Uh, so
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think though is like you saw from the Chiefs today. Um, I don't think Mahomes played his best game. I thought he did decent. I think the 49ers could have had 2 or 3 picks from Mahomes, so they just dropped stuff. Like I thought that was he made Mahomes made a couple of passes that I thought we got lucky and avoided interceptions, but he played very. I think he did a good job. He made good reads. Same with the Juju touchdown throw, right? Where 49ers and most teams in the NFL, as you guys know, when they play Travis Kelsey, everyone wants to play this deep cover too. And the issue with that is that's fine, right? To save the deep ball, right? The Tyreek kind of deep ball. But now what's happened is the streakers that we had, MVS, Juju, in the previous games, they sat in the zones more. If you notice these games, right? Like all the routes, instead of just like, hey, take off down the field, it's a 60-yard go route, just go and I'll throw the ball to you. It's like, hey, go down 15 yards, do this little curl hitch, sit there in the zone between these two defenders. And the 49er safeties were playing so far back. So that's how the Juju play, right? Like he sat there 10 yards down the field. Mahomes threw it to him, made one dude miss, got a good block down the field, boom, touchdown, 60-yard touchdown or 40-yard touchdown. So I think they changed how they did the routes with the receivers, and it benefited the whole team.
Right.
Yeah, remember that. Yeah, yeah, yep, yep. Mhm. Yep. Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you can't. Yeah.
Right. I did.
Yeah. Mhm.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah. And I agree with you, and I think it also boils down to how Andy Reid and the coaching staff adjust to people who game plan for the receivers too. I think they know they're smart people. They get paid a lot of money to do this job. Same conversations that we're having about like, hey, these guys are zone people, but the way that the routes are run, the way that the plays are called, like today was a great example. San Francisco, I mean, best defense in the NFL. They're the scariest, I think, by far. It hasn't really been close. They have studs. They have star players on defense coming into this game, and the Chiefs just blew them out of the water. I mean, offensively, they ran them up and down the field. You know, I would say like the 1 to 2 holes in the middle were kind of hard to get through, but I mean anything on the outside of like the anything like outside the tackles or screens, little slants, zone picks, whatever it was, the Chiefs kind of had their way, honestly, for an NFL team with the 49ers
Yeah, they
defense.
did.
Um, and I think that just the way that Andy Reid and his staff prepare for the team, it changes everything completely. Like I said, the 49ers, like I mean, except for this week, you're if you have to give them on defense and fantasy, you're starting them, right? If they're not playing the Bills or the Chiefs, you're starting them every single week, regardless of the matchup, because they're going to get points, they're going to get sacks, they're going to get turnovers, and yeah, it was insane. It was insane, and the Chiefs look good. They ran to the buzzsaw that was the Bills, which was 50-50 coin flip last week of does Mahomes get down the field for a touchdown, and it paid off for the playoff win right last year, and it didn't 2 weeks ago. So the Colts game is the mystery, but hey, whatever. Yeah, it is the best team. I think it'd be hard to argue against the Bills being the best team. They're incredible. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm.
So to the since we're talking about the wide receivers again, something else about them is they you know you have Justin Watson, Juju, and Valdez Scantling. None of these guys have ever played for the Chiefs before. This is their first year. I really feel like they're starting to hit their chemistry stride, not just with Mahomes, but with Andy Reid, learning how they do things, how they, just how the whole game plan works, and then of course that chemistry with their new quarterback. So today watching them, Juju and Valdez Scantling, they looked on point. They looked very good, and compared to previous weeks. So I'm just wondering maybe if it's just an adjustment into the new scheme and the new quarterback. Even though, as good as Mahomes is, you know, the the longer you play with him, like Travis Kelsey, the more fluent you get with him. You get to learn each other, and that chemistry builds up and everything. And it feels like they're starting to. There's a lot of new pieces, first year pieces in this offense, and they're really looking good now. I think it's just a development that's happening as the season goes on. Now, to answer your question about the new receiver, um, do they need one? I don't know that they do. I almost feel like it might be money better spent on um, a defensive lineman, maybe, or even a cornerback or something. But do I think that's what they're going to do? No, I think they're going to go after a wide receiver because that's what Andy Reid does.
Hmm.
And uh, I would like to see him go after DJ Moore personally. He's a lot less injury prone than Beckham. Real football.
Yeah, real football. I would
Real
say.
football.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
have DJ. I do have DJ Moore. So full disclosure on that on my fantasy bench. But even DJ Moore on the Chiefs, I still see him spreading the ball around the same way he's been doing it. He just has another lethal weapon, possibly the most lethal weapon on that team if he came over there. Outside of Kelsey probably, but so it would just make them that much more deadly. But I would say their biggest help needed is probably on the defensive line, possibly. Maybe maybe even trade away Frank Clark or something. I'm not sure.
Hmm.
He did. He hasn't, and there's
Yeah.
a lot of teams that could use him, and maybe he just needs a rejuvenating new team or something, and they could throw someone else in there. They could go out and get someone else that could be a big help for Chris Jones. But
Yeah. I mean, if you look at like the Chiefs, like in my opinion, I think that going after a receiver right now would not be the play. I think it's the flashy move. I don't think it's the smart thing to do.
Yeah.
You have 3 to 4 solid receivers that are veterans who are older guys, they're not rookies. You also have a rookie in Sky Moore. MVS gets paid about 5 million this year. He then gets bumped up to 11 for 23, then 14 for 24. Hardman's sitting at 4. He's a free agent next year. Juju's a free agent for next year. Sky Moore has his rookie deal to 2026, right? And then Justin Watson's getting paid like $1 million a year or something, right? So you look at all those guys. There's overall in the receiving room, Kelsey's obviously his own thing, but like the receivers themselves, there's not a ton of money locked up on a yearly basis for a team of that quality. Because I mean, you think about like the Rams and stuff, and even the Cowboys and stuff, Gallup and all these guys, like they have some serious money tied up in these contracts. And
Yeah.
I think that, in my opinion, you've got Hardman, Juju, and Justin Watson that are all going to be UFAs next year. So I would think if I'm the Chiefs, I would want to get extensions figured out with those guys, and then see, okay, where's my cap space hit, what I need for salary, because like you said, Kelsey's getting paid 14 million next year, and then defensive line, obviously Chris Jones is the big one. He's getting paid 30 million a year, and then Frank Clark's 14, and the rest of it's like 2 and 3, right? So those are the big hits, right? So I mean, if you're talking about cap space and like moving stuff around for the Chiefs, I mean, the smart play is to Chris Jones and Frank Clark, awesome guys. They're the studs of the line, but you can get a lot of value for them right now, and they've got 2 expensive years. Like, because Frank Clark in 23 next year gets paid 30 million, he's getting paid 13 this year, right? So he goes
Yeah.
up. So we have almost $57 million tied between Jones and Clark next year. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So if you want that, that's fine. If you want to get a receiver, there needs to, if we can offload those guys to get a receiver, that's fine. But just to get a receiver, just to get one, to like give draft picks for Odell or something is not something that I think we should do. My thoughts.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, it's not. Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
A new weapon for Mahomes. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well,
Yep.
I would just throw this out. If the Chiefs get Odell Beckham, are they going to put more points up per game? They lead the NFL right now.
No.
So I don't see how I don't see the major benefit of that. However, adding defensive piece of some kind to to get Mahomes back on the field, that that actually might net us more points, possibly. I don't think the offense. I think the offense is going to score most of the time when they're on the field.
Yeah, and I think
Anyway,
if it's like a situation where someone, Hardman went down towards ACL, whatever. Okay, yeah, panic. Yeah, one of your
for
main
sure.
receivers is injured. Let's go get somebody. But everyone's healthy. Knock on wood, right? And so
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that you said that's right. Like the fantasy headline or the sports media headline is get the super fun non-conventional quarterback more weapons to throw to. That's the fun
Yeah.
headline.
Right.
Mm. I'll,
This
I'll
will
let
have to
Jake
be my
start.
last
I have
topic,
some
guys.
thoughts. But I'll let Jake start if he wants.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go here in just a few. So,
Okay,
um,
go for it.
well, first, let me just say something about him playing against the Chiefs today. He's a freak. He's
Hmm.
he's so good. Um, but it I don't have any analytics in front of me about this, but it just seems like the San Francisco 49ers are always completely riddled with injuries like cancer, like all the time. It seems like on both sides of the ball all the time. And to me, they just added another one that is always injured all the time. Personally, I think um, I'm not sure that Kyle Shanahan is all that he was hyped up to be. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to be creative enough with that with all these weapons to utilize them properly. I'm not sure. We'll have to see. I don't have any faith in him though. I don't for what they paid for Chris McCaffrey. I mean, you better go to a Super Bowl with that team. They paid a lot, so they almost don't have any drafts next year. So um, it's but that's a tough one to say because I like Chris McCaffrey. That is one freak running back. He is so talented, and he showed it today during the Chiefs. You could see it. So um, as far as what the 49ers needed, I don't know if he was worth all those picks, honestly. So
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, I think the CMC trade to me it's very similar to the Trent Richardson trade about 7 or 8 years ago, where
mm,
the of course you know what happened, right? Where like the Browns traded they traded their pick to the Colts, and they traded him for two first round picks and a fourth round pick, right? So it's like the closest that I remember of like there being like a running back type of a trade like this. And that was after Richardson had a great rookie year. He got traded, and of course, like fell off the cliff, and it was a terrible trade because he got injured, and he played like 2 years, and he signed this. He was just bad. So I
uh,
think that to me, I'm glad first of all, as a person, I'm glad that he got out of the Panthers. That thing is a dying black hole of a team. I'm glad that he
yeah,
got out of there. Just as I like him as a player, right? I like watching him play. I'm glad he's out of Carolina. The QB situation's a disaster. The head coach thing is a disaster. They're a disaster of a team right now. So I'm glad that he was able to get out. The 49ers, I think, are a more stable team than the Panthers. So I think he's going to have more success there. For the 49ers perspective, though, I don't. you have Jeff Wilson. You have kind of a rotating committee of running backs, anyways. To be honest with you, they have a lot of star players. I mean, if I was the 49ers, I'm looking for a quarterback or over another start running back. Because I mean, as we saw today, Jimmy
Yeah.
G, like, he can make some throws, but geez, like, he it gets any kind of pressure on him, which the Chiefs did most of the game, and dude starts getting squirrely really quick, and he cannot, like, any kind of pressure. He is making bad throws, and he has no. I mean, the safety, like, you have to have eyes in the back of your head for that kind of thing, and he didn't even see Frank Clark sack him. He had no clue what was going on, right? So
Yeah.
to me,
I
I
agree.
think that's the 49ers problem is, you have the whole Trey Lance thing, and people in San Francisco think he's God, or whatever. But then it's like, I don't know. I'm not sure what the deal is there, but the 49ers, to me, is like, if you're going to make a move, that's the limiting factor, in my opinion, is like, you got to go after a big name quarterback. Who knows? Maybe Brady for one final year after Tampa or something. I don't know. You do something, right, to make
Aaron
it happen.
Rodgers or
Yeah, Aaron
something.
Rodgers
Yeah.
is actually not a bad play. Oh, do you imagine Aaron Rodgers with, like, Debo Samuel and Ayuk and Kittle, and with, like, McCaffrey and Jeff Wilson? Oh,
See,
oh,
that's that.
oh,
I feel like that's. I feel like
oh,
that's. I know this is kind of off subject, but since you just brought that up,
oh, that's dirty.
just I think that's the difference right now, currently, between Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. I think Tom Brady would not thrive with more weapons. I think he's at the end of that. Aaron
Yep.
Rodgers is at the point, unless you give him weapons, he's not doing
Mm-hmm.
nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers going to 49ers could absolutely would elevate his game for the last year or two of his career.
Aaron Rodgers, the 49ers, like, they would be, I mean, their defense is stacked.
Absolutely.
You get Aaron Rodgers is pissed at Green Bay already. He's been off and on with Green Bay. You get him to come to 49ers. I don't know. You get more picks, doesn't matter, right? You
Right.
get a 2-year window with the 49ers, and you got a division where the Rams haven't looked good. The
Yeah.
Seahawks are, who knows what the Seahawks could be. Who knows, right? The Seahawks are in limbo.
Right.
Arizona's not as great as they were supposed to be, so the division is somewhat wide open for them to just take control of it. So I think that's the play if you're the
Yeah.
49ers, right?
I agree. Mm.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Yep, they did.
Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
49ers, they
49ers.
did.
That's right.
Oh.
Good
Hmm.
point.
Mhm.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, they even do something with the Packers back where they give the Packers Trey Lance and another whatever pick, because at that point, whatever, it doesn't matter, for Aaron
Yeah.
Rodgers, because you want this 3 to 4 years of good Aaron Rodgers prime quarterback play for
Yeah.
a quarterback that the Packers can build around. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a thought. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I mean, it's true, though. The 49ers are elite quarterback play away from being like a yearly contender,
Oh,
honestly, because
100%.
Jimmy G got them there, and if anybody else for the most part, like a Lamar Jackson,
Yeah.
and Allen and Mahomes is the quarterback for the 49ers, they probably win the Super Bowl the last 2 or 3 years, honestly.
Yeah. They're a well-rounded roster
Yeah,
on
it's a
both
good
sides of
team.
the ball. The defense wins championships, but the NFL has really shifted over to the offensive side of the ball big time. But the 49ers have that covered too, minus the quarterback. They are loaded
Yeah,
minus the quarterback.
they are.
Yeah. All right, guys, that's it for me.
Cool. All right,
We'll
TJ.
see you guys. Okay.
Yeah. Mhm. 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 So that's another topic too. So the last 3 or 4 years, I would say the culture in the NFL before in like 2015 and whatever, it was like, okay, we're not good. We tank for a number one pick. It's a quarterback. It's a stud. Defensive end. It's some kind of game changer. A Khalil Mack, a Tom Brady, a Derrick Henry, a Barry Sanders, whatever. Go back through history. You got this star, this LeBron James esque generational talent that's gonna like blow the doors off of everything. So, um, last 3 or 4 years though, as you've seen, the Rams, great example of that, basically blew up their future to win a ring, which for any team is worth it. I think any fan would say I would gladly sacrifice 5 years of being, 12-4 and losing in the playoffs to get a ring guaranteed and be like 10-6. I think every team would say that. So what teams do you see? You have the Rams that kind of blew up some of their draft picks. So what are let's say, I don't know, take one or two teams that you think could do follow the Rams strategy the next few years of this. Hey, let's win now. We have a roster. Let's go. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, like with the missing. Yeah. Mhm. 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 Yeah. Hmm. 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 Yeah. Mhm. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Mhm. Yeah. 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 No, you're right. You're right. Yeah, he did. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. 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 Hmm. Yeah. I guess that's true. Yeah. 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 Hmm. Yeah. I think that I think my thoughts are you have people that are willing to sell more of their picks the last 3 or 4 years than they were, say 10 years ago. And so I think we're gonna see more of these kind of Christian McCaffrey esque trades where, you know, and also you might not have any. You might have a Dan Snyder type of team, where they don't do anything, and it's this black hole, and the owner looks at it as like a business, and rather than I want to win, and they're okay with having a $4 billion team, whatever it is, and they just sit on it and don't really want to do anything. Um, yeah, yeah. Well, and then also too, like I that's the whole thing too, the whole Dan Snyder thing. But Washington, they play in division with three huge markets with Dallas, New York, and Philadelphia, right? And so those divisional games alone, even the home games, like the amount of money those things bring in, like just alone, right, on those games is incredible. So, but that's a whole rabbit hole there. But yeah, I think that you're going to see. I think you're going to see some teams, though. I think next few years you're going to see some teams blow up stuff, especially when frustrations come out in the playoffs. I could see the Bills doing something if they lose again in the playoffs and they don't get to the Super Bowl. If they lose into the Chiefs again in the divisional round, I could see some moves being made on defense because that has been that's what's killed them the last 3 or so years in the playoffs has been their defense. So yes, yes, but I can see more of that happening, right? Where it's like, okay, we need a Ramsey, we need a Peters, we need somebody, we need something, we need experience, we need to bring in the big guns to like with secondary or something. So I can see that happening if we have another Chiefs scenario next year or this year where they meet in the playoffs or some team does and they're it's a 2 minute drill and they can't do it at the end of the game. So I could definitely see that happening. Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yep. 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 The Eagles have been incredible. They do. Yep. Yep. Yeah, both the Seahawks and the Eagles, like in theory, the Broncos and the Saints are not good. So if they keep losing, they could have some stupid high picks, and you're just adding more fuel to these fires. Mhm. Mhm. Yep. Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with you entirely. And I think the Eagles, like Jalen Hurts, like I think last year when he was a rookie, right? He was, or I guess what 2 years ago or last year was a rookie. 2 years ago. Okay. Yeah. So 2 years ago he didn't play much, right? Last year he came in. He came in for not Wentz. Who am I thinking of? Nick Foles. Thank you. He came in for Nick Foles, kind of half and half, and then took over the main job last season. So I think the big thing is seeing him develop and seeing him become like a functional quarterback who's dual threat and make smart decisions is huge. And I'm sure you've seen some stuff too. Great team player. He's a leader in the locker room. All this stuff. So the Eagles really hit the home run with him, and I think they were a quarterback away, right? I think after, you could argue after, the Carson Wentz Eagles Super Bowl, right? Like after the whole Nick Foles debacle, like the quarterback play is not great for the Eagles. They're kind of floundering. They finally found they finally found their guy in Hurts, who I'm just hoping he stays healthy. He's super fun to watch, and I've watched the Eagles play a few games, and I watched them play the Cowboys last Sunday night, and yeah, I mean the Eagles are legit. They're really good, and mm, yeah, yeah. So we'll stay in the NFC East for a second. What about the Giants? What are your thoughts on the Giants being 6-1 right now? Hmm. 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 Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And I do like that Saquon. I like Saquon a lot, and I'm glad that, like you said, he's probably gonna get moved. Something's gonna happen. Either he's gonna get a huge paycheck from the Giants this year, or he's gonna move. But I'm glad that he's able to get a year where he's 6-1 because he's always been on the 1-6 side of it, like for his whole career. And so I'm glad that just for him, like the Giants, I care less about the Giants. Like they're fine, nothing against them, but I'm not like a Cowboys fan, so I have this like innate hatred for the Giants. So, but it's just fun to see him as a player succeed and him do better. Yeah. Hmm. Oh yeah. 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 I mean, the Jets have also surprised me a lot too. It's just that was something I did not expect, to be honest with you, because on paper, other than Brees Hall being kind of the main addition to the offense, they didn't make a ton of moves that really spoke to me like they were trying to get better. And then just the way the games worked out, the execution, yeah, they looked good. They looked really good. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Mm. No. Hmm. Yep. Yeah. Yep. I did see the stat too. Now you mentioned that is that there's the amount of close games this season is the highest it's been in. I think it's the so far through week 7 or 6. I can't remember what the stat was exactly, but there have been more one score games this season than any season since like 2001 or 2002. So it's showing that in the league, yes, there are obviously still good teams, but you don't have this year the 0 and 5, 0 and 6 trash can teams that we've had in the past, and they've been the Jets or the Giants or Lions or whatever you want to call them. But I think there's more, I guess, equal footing. I would say, like, yeah, there are some teams that have an advantage who have some, but I mean, the difference is like same with any given Sunday, right? Like, look at the Chiefs and the Colts when they played. Like the Colts right now, like I'd argue, like they're one of the worst teams in the NFL, but they beat the Chiefs because the Chiefs didn't come out with their best game. So I think that it's going to make it a really interesting year, and it's made the football better. I think it hasn't been as not as many blowouts. It's been a lot closer games. A lot of these like 27-21 kind of grinders where you're really like getting into it, and it's coming down to the last 5 minutes of the game. Hmm. 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 Yeah. 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 Hmm. Hmm. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. No, and yeah, I would say I would agree with you too, because like Chargers have looked a little more shaky, right, than the Chiefs, but Chargers can still put together a great game, and if Herbert gets protection, I mean, dude's unstoppable, right? So so I mean, there's a lot of teams. I do feel like there's the NFC. I feel like last year was overall worse, I would say, than the AFC. This year, I think there's a little more parity, a little more. You're seeing teams like I said, well, just the NFC West in particular, but Giants, Cowboys, Eagles, all really good on paper, and so we'll kind of see what happens when they play more. Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree, and I think that's something that um, I could see. I could see this being a big year for the NFL in particular because you have a lot of stuff with the Deshaun Watson things, and you know people are kind of coming out of COVID, and COVID was a big year where people were at home and doing lots of stuff, watching a lot of football, and people are kind of getting back to doing normal stuff. And so I think having a good year is going to be critical for the NFL, and so I think these close games are actually helping it, and I think it's gonna increase in popularity. I think even more after this year. I think you've got a lot of young stars. You got a lot of good games. Mhm. 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 Yeah. 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 No, I agree. I agree with you. I think it's also it's I think there's a lot of factors, but you hit the nail on the head with a lot of those. Is that I think it's going to be this year is going to be critical for the NFL, and I think it's going to kind of maintain its foothold and grow in more popularity compared to these other sports. And then also to just overall viewership too, because football is such like a nice 3 hour package window of like food and like the games are on time. And college football, like there's so many games, and the games are 4.5 hours sometimes. And NFL is like a nice 3 hour window. You do brunch, you do lunch, whatever it is, and you're done. It's nice. It's a nice little package. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, I got some kids and stuff like